They thought I was just the old maintenance man who fixed their leaky faucets and unclogged their drains. My son's fiancée had no idea that the handyman she'd been treating like hired help was actually the man who'd built a $40 million real estate empire from nothing. And I'd kept it that way on purpose. Because sometimes, the only way to see someone's true character is to let them think you're nobody. I'm Robert Chen, 63 years old, and I'd spent the last 8 months pretending to be someone I wasn't. All because of a promise I'd made to my late wife. Let me back up. My wife Margaret died 2 years ago. Cancer. The kind that takes you slow enough that you have time to say everything you need to say, but fast enough that it still feels like it happened too soon. In those final weeks, when the hospice nurses would give us privacy, Margaret would hold my hand and talk about Michael, our son, our only child. "Promise me something," she said one afternoon, her voice barely above a whisper. "When Michael finds someone, really test them. See how they treat people they think can't do anything for them." I'd promised. Of course I'd promised. Margaret had always been the wise one, the moral compass. While I'd been busy building Chen properties into one of the largest commercial real estate portfolios in the Pacific Northwest, she'd been the one who made sure we never forgot where we came from. We'd both grown up poor. Immigrant parents, scholarship kids. We'd worked our way up from a tiny studio apartment to penthouses and vacation homes. But Margaret never let the money change who she was. "The wrong person will destroy everything we built," she'd said. "Not the money. That's just money. I mean the values, the humility, the kindness." She'd been right to worry. Michael was brilliant, successful in his own right as a software engineer. But he'd always been a bit naive when it came to people. Too trusting, too quick to see the best in everyone, which is how he'd ended up with Ashley Morrison. I met her for the first time 6 months after Margaret's funeral. Michael brought her to the house for Sunday dinner. His face lit up in a way I hadn't seen since his mother passed. He was clearly in love. Head over heels, as they say. "Dad, this is Ashley," he'd said, practically bouncing with excitement. "Ashley, this is my father." She'd extended a perfectly manicured hand, her smile bright but somehow not quite reaching her eyes. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Mr. Chen. Michael talks about you all the time." The house gave me away immediately. My retirement home was a modest 3-bedroom Craftsman in Ballard, chosen specifically because it didn't scream money. But it was still nice enough that you could tell someone successful lived there. "This is a lovely home," Ashley said, her eyes already cataloging, appraising, calculating. "Did you do well in your career?" "I got by," I said simply. Michael shot me a look. He knew I was downplaying it, but he also knew I'd never been one to brag about money. Over dinner, I watched Ashley carefully. She was charming, no doubt about that. Pretty, well-spoken, worked in marketing for a tech startup. She laughed at my jokes, complimented the food, and seemed genuinely interested in Michael's stories about growing up. The way her attention sharpened whenever money came up, the way she'd casually mentioned her parents' house in Mercer Island 3 times, the way she'd name-dropped designer brands like they were punctuation marks. After they left that night, I sat in Margaret's chair, the one she'd claimed as hers for 30 years, and thought about my promise. That's when I came up with the plan. Michael had been living in a high-rise downtown, one of those new luxury buildings with a concierge and a rooftop pool. The kind of place where successful young tech workers went to network and be seen. Through a shell company I'd set up years ago for privacy, I owned the building. Michael had no idea. He paid market-rate rent like everyone else. Insisted on it, actually. Despite my offers to help him buy a place, I made a call to the property management company. "I need a favor," I told the manager. "Someone who'd worked for me for 15 years and understood discretion. I'm going undercover in the building. New identity. I'll be the maintenance supervisor. Your maintenance guy is taking a 3-month sabbatical. All expenses paid. And yes, I'll be doing the actual work." She didn't even question it. "How deep are we going with this, Mr. Chen?" "Deep enough that if my son asks about the new maintenance man, he gets a complete backstory. Name's Robert Lee. Recently widowed. Moved here from California. Been doing maintenance work for 30 years. That's it. And so, at 63 years old, I became Robert Lee, maintenance man. I traded my custom suits for worn Carhartt work pants and flannel shirts from Goodwill. Let my hair grow out a bit. Wore reading glasses I didn't need. Practiced stooping just slightly, the way men do when years of manual labor have worn down their joints. I'd grown up helping my father with his janitorial business, so I actually knew how to fix things. This wasn't entirely an act. The first time I showed up at Michael's door to fix a reported leak under his kitchen sink, he did a double take. "Dad?" "Just Robert," I said quietly, kneeling down with my toolbox. "What are you?" "Your mother made me promise to test anyone you got serious with, to see their real character, not the version they show to your father who might have money." Michael stared at me for a long moment, then glanced toward the bedroom, where Ashley was getting ready. "She's good, Dad. You'll see." "I hope you're right," I said. And I meant it. "But let me do this. If she's as good as you think, this won't matter at all." He didn't like it, but he understood. Margaret's deathbed wishes carried weight with both of us. Over the next several weeks, I integrated myself into the building's ecosystem, fixed toilets, replaced air filters, responded to maintenance requests. Most residents barely acknowledged me. I was just the maintenance guy, part of the invisible workforce that kept their comfortable lives running smoothly. Ashley was one of those residents. She'd moved into Michael's apartment about a month into my undercover operation. The first time she called me for a repair, her tone was clipped, imperious. "The garbage disposal is making a weird noise. Can you come fix it?" "I'll be right up, ma'am. It's Miss Morrison. And please use the service entrance." The service entrance. Even though I was coming from another floor in the same building, even though the front door was 10 feet closer, I should have known then. But I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she'd just had a bad day. I fixed the disposal. She didn't thank me. She did, however, complain that I'd left a smudge on the counter, even though I'd wiped everything down twice. The incidents piled up slowly, each one small enough to explain away on its own, but together they painted a picture I didn't want to see. There was the time I was fixing a neighbor's door across the hall, and Ashley came out, nearly running into me. "God, you scared me," she said, her hand on her chest. Then, recovering, "Could you try to be less conspicuous when you're working? Some of us have important Zoom calls." There was the afternoon she cornered me in the mailroom. "Robert, is it? I need you to do me a favor. When my parents visit next week, could you maybe not be visible? They're very particular about the building's aesthetic." "No offense." "None taken, Miss Morrison," I said, even though my jaw was clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. But the worst was yet to come. It happened on a Tuesday evening. I was replacing some hallway light bulbs when I heard voices from Michael's apartment. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear them arguing. "I don't understand why this is such a big deal," Michael was saying. "Because it's embarrassing." Ashley's voice was sharp. "Your father is a maintenance worker, Michael. A janitor, basically. He's a handyman, not a janitor, and even if he was, it's the same thing. People who couldn't make something of themselves. And the way he dresses, those awful clothes, that stoop in his posture. He looks poor." I stood very still in that hallway, my hand frozen on the light bulb. "Ashley, he's my father, and I'm going to be your wife. Which means my family is going to become your family, and your family is going to reflect on me. The Morrisons have a reputation to maintain. A reputation." "Are you serious right now?" "Yes, I'm serious. My father is a partner at Morrison & Associates. My mother sits on 3 charity boards. They move in certain circles, Michael. Important circles. I can't have them meeting someone who smells like WD-40 and probably has a high school diploma." He put himself through night school while working 2 jobs to support his family, Michael said, and I could hear the strain in his voice. "He's one of the smartest men I know. Smart people don't end up fixing toilets for a living. There it was. The truth. Sharp and ugly, and impossible to misunderstand. I finished changing the light bulb and walked away before I could hear any more. That night, I sat in my real home, in Margaret's chair, and thought about my promise. I'd seen Ashley's character now. I'd seen exactly who she was, but I still needed to know. Would Michael see it too? Or was love blinding him? The next morning, Michael called me. Not Robert Lee, the maintenance man. Robert Chen, his father. Can we talk? His voice sounded tired. We met at the little diner near the building, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that could strip paint. I need to tell you something, he started, stirring his coffee without drinking it. Ashley and I are getting engaged. I'm proposing next month. My heart sank. I know you heard us fighting yesterday, he continued. I saw you in the hallway, Michael, and before you say anything, I need you to know that I talked to her about respecting you, about respecting everyone, regardless of their job. She apologized. She said she was stressed about planning the engagement party, and she took it out on you, and it won't happen again. Did she apologize to me? He hesitated. She will. I promise. But she didn't. The engagement happened exactly 1 month later. Michael proposed at a fancy restaurant on the waterfront, and Ashley posted about it approximately 30 seconds later on every social media platform known to mankind. The ring, which I later learned cost $45,000, was prominently featured in every shot. The engagement party was scheduled for 6 weeks later at the Morrison family's estate in Mercer Island. And that's when things really fell apart. I received the invitation in the mail at my real address. Formal, embossed, expensive. Robert Chen, and guest. But when I called Michael to confirm I was coming, his voice was strained. About that, Dad. Ashley and I need to talk to you about something. They came to my house 2 days later. Both of them. Ashley's smile was tight, practiced. The smile of someone about to deliver bad news and pretend it's actually good news. Mr. Chen, she started, and I noticed she'd never once called me Robert, much less anything familial. Michael and I have been discussing the engagement party, and we've made a difficult decision. I looked at my son. He wouldn't meet my eyes. We think it might be best if you didn't attend. The words hung in the air like smoke. Excuse me? Ashley forged ahead, her voice taking on a tone I'd heard before: patient, condescending. The voice you use with someone you think is slow to understand. It's just that we're trying to make a good impression on some very important people. Michael's company's CEO will be there, several investors, my parents' entire social circle, and we think having someone there who's in a more service-oriented profession might send the wrong message about Michael's background. Service-oriented profession. I repeated the word slowly. She doesn't mean it like that. Michael finally spoke up, but his voice was weak. How does she mean it then? We just want this to be perfect, Ashley said. And you have to admit, you're not exactly polished. The way you dress, the way you talk, it's fine for someone in your position, but it doesn't really fit with the image we're trying to project. The image. Yes. Michael is on track to be a director at his company within 2 years. We're buying a house in Madison Park next year. We're building something here, Mr. Chen. Something important. And we need people around us who enhance that vision, not detract from it. I looked at my son, really looked at him, saw him sitting there, silent, letting the woman he supposedly loved tear his father apart. And you agree with this? I asked him directly. Dad, he started, then stopped. It's just one party. We'll have a private dinner. Just the 3 of us. After you've paraded me away from the people who matter. That's exactly what this is. I stood up. Thank you for making this clear, Ashley. You've been very informative. So you understand? She looked relieved. Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand exactly who you are. As they left, Michael turned back at the door. Dad, please, don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm not the one making anything hard, son. I'm just the one paying attention. After they left, I sat in Margaret's chair for a long time. Then I picked up the phone and made some calls. The engagement party was everything Ashley had probably dreamed of. The Morrison estate was massive, all manicured lawns and water views and that particular kind of West Coast old money elegance that comes from 3 generations of successful law practice. White tent, string quartet, waiters in bow ties carrying champagne that cost more per bottle than most people spent on rent. I watched from my car parked down the street as the guests arrived. Michael's CEO, Ashley's parents' friends, all dressed in their carefully casual, expensive clothes. The kind of people who summered as a verb. I'd been explicitly uninvited, but that didn't mean I couldn't be there. At 7:30, right in the middle of cocktail hour, I walked up the driveway. But I wasn't dressed in my Robert Lee maintenance uniform. I was wearing a Tom Ford suit, Italian leather shoes, and the Rolex Margaret had given me on our 20th anniversary. I looked exactly like what I was, a man with $40 million and the confidence that comes from building something from nothing. The security guard at the gate took one look at me and waved me through. Money recognizes money. I found Michael near the bar, Ashley attached to his arm like an expensive accessory. They were talking to an older couple, the Morrisons, I assumed, from the way Ashley's mother's lips were pursed in permanent disapproval. "Excuse me," I said, approaching the group. Michael turned, and the color drained from his face. "Dad?" Ashley's eyes widened. She was looking at me like I was a stranger. Which, I supposed, I was. She'd never seen Robert Chen before. Only Robert Lee, the maintenance man. "Wait," she said, confusion crossing her face. But I thought, you thought I was the handyman," I said pleasantly. "Robert Lee. Fixed your garbage disposal a few months back. You told me to use the service entrance. Remember?" The Morrisons were looking between us, bewildered. "I don't understand," Ashley's mother said. "Allow me to explain," I said. "I'm Robert Chen, Michael's father. I'm also the owner of Chen Properties, which manages approximately $400 million in commercial real estate across Washington, Oregon, and California. I'm also, as of 8 months ago, the primary investor in Quantum Dynamics, that would be Michael's company, Mrs. Morrison. I bought in quietly through a venture capital firm. Didn't want to overshadow Michael's accomplishments with my name." The silence was profound. "I'm also," I continued, "the owner of your son's apartment building. That luxury high-rise downtown where he lives, where Ashley has been living for the past 5 months. Mine. Every unit, every floor, the entire building." Ashley made a small sound, like air being let out of a tire. "For the past 8 months, I've been working undercover as the maintenance man in that building, living in modest means, dressing in work clothes, fixing broken pipes and changing light bulbs, all because my late wife asked me to test any woman my son got serious with, to see how they treated people they thought had nothing to offer them." I turned to Ashley. "And you, Miss Morrison, failed spectacularly." "Mr. Chen, I can explain," she started. "You called me an embarrassment. You said smart people don't end up fixing toilets for a living. You told me to be less conspicuous because my existence was inconvenient for you. You told my son I wasn't good enough to attend his engagement party because I might hurt your image." Michael was staring at the ground. "But here's what you didn't know," I said, my voice quiet but carrying across the suddenly silent party. "Every toilet I fixed, every leak I stopped, every light bulb I changed, I was working the way I've always worked, the way my father taught me to work. With dignity, with skill, with respect for the job, no matter what that job is." I pulled out my phone and opened a video file. Before my wife died, she recorded a message. She asked me to play it if I ever found myself in a situation like this. I pressed play, and Margaret's face filled the screen. She was thin, weak, but her eyes were sharp and clear. "If you're watching this," her voice came through the speaker, "it means my husband has found someone who failed the test. Someone who judged him not by his character, but by his perceived status. Someone who thought that what you do for work defines who you are as a person." The party had gone completely silent. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. I want you to know something, Margaret continued. Robert and I built our wealth from nothing, from scholarship money and student loans and 60-hour work weeks. We never forgot what it was like to be poor. We never forgot what it was like to be invisible to people who thought they were better than us. And we promised ourselves that if we ever had children, we would teach them that a person's worth has nothing to do with their bank account or their job title. Her eyes seemed to look directly at the camera. If you're someone who judges people by what they can do for you, by how much money they have, by whether they enhance your image, then you're not good enough for my family. Not because we're wealthy, but because we're kind. And kindness is the one thing money can't buy. The video ended. Ashley was crying, mascara running down her cheeks. Mrs. Morrison looked like she'd swallowed glass. Michael still wouldn't look at me. I came here tonight, I said, not to embarrass anyone, not for revenge, but because my son needed to see this. I turned to Michael. Your mother and I raised you to be better than this. We raised you to value people for who they are, not what they appear to be. The fact that you sat in our house and let this woman tell you I wasn't good enough to attend your engagement party tells me we failed somewhere. Or you forgot. Dad, his voice cracked. I'm not saying she's a bad person, I said. I'm saying she's the wrong person. For you, for our family, for the values your mother and I tried to instill in you. I looked at Ashley. And as for you, Miss Morrison, I hope you find someone whose family's image matters more to them than their family's integrity. I'm sure you'll be very happy together. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Michael, your rent is paid through the end of the year. After that, you'll need to find a new apartment. I'm selling the building. I wasn't, but it felt like the right exit line. The ride home was quiet. I kept my phone off, ignoring the flood of calls and texts I knew would be coming. When I got back to my house, I poured myself 2 fingers of the good scotch, sat in Margaret's chair, and waited. Michael showed up at 11:30 that night. His eyes were red. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 4 hours. Can I come in? He asked. I opened the door wider. We sat in the living room for a long time without speaking. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're right. I'm not. He laughed, but it was a broken sound. She tried to tell everyone you were lying, that it was some kind of elaborate prank. But then her father Googled you on his phone, and your net worth estimate came up, and the look on his face. Michael, I knew, Dad. I knew she was like that. I saw it. In little moments, little comments. The way she talked about the barista at our coffee shop, the way she treated waitstaff. I saw it, and I ignored it, because she was beautiful and successful, and I thought I'd never find anyone else. You'll find someone else. Someone Mom would have approved of. Someone who treats maintenance workers with respect. That's the bar. It's not high. He wiped his eyes. I'm sorry. For what I said. For letting her say those things about you. For being ashamed when I should have been proud. I moved to sit next to him. Your mother didn't ask me to test Ashley to punish you or her. She asked me to test her to protect you, because she knew we both knew that who you marry matters more than almost any other decision you'll make. You can recover from a bad career choice. You can't always recover from choosing the wrong partner. I really loved her, Dad. I know. And that makes it harder. But love isn't enough. It needs respect, kindness, shared values. Your mother and I had all of that, and we still had to work at it every single day. We talked until dawn. About Margaret. About the business. About what he wanted to do next. By the time the sun came up, he looked more like himself again. As he was leaving, he turned back. Are you really selling the building? No. But I am raising Ashley Morrison's rent by 30%. Investment properties need to maintain their value. He laughed, a real laugh this time. 3 months later, Michael met someone new. Emma. She was a teacher at a public elementary school. Made about 1/10 of what Ashley had made. When I met her for the first time, she shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and said, Michael told me about the Handyman test. That's brilliant. Did you really fix toilets? Every single one in that building. That's so cool. My dad's a plumber. You should meet him. I knew, watching my son watch her, that this was different. This was right. 2 years later, I walked Michael down the aisle at their wedding. Emma's father sat in the front row, along with her mother, a postal worker. The Morrisons were not invited. During the reception, Emma pulled me aside. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For caring enough about your son to spend 8 months fixing toilets. Not every father would do that. Any father who loved his son would." She smiled. "No, they wouldn't. But you did. And now Michael knows what real love looks like. The kind that gets its hands dirty. The kind that doesn't worry about image or status or what other people think." As I watched Michael and Emma dance, I felt Margaret's presence beside me. Not literally, of course, but in the values we'd instilled, in the test we'd devised together, in the sun we'd raised to eventually see past the glitter and find the gold. "We did okay," I whispered to the air, and somewhere, I knew, Margaret was smiling. The next morning, I went back to work. Not as a maintenance man this time, but the lesson remained. There's honor in all honest work, dignity in all honest labor, and character revealed in how we treat those who can do nothing for us. Ashley Morrison eventually got married too, I heard. To a tech executive, someone with the right pedigree, the right connections, the right image. I hope she's happy, but I hope even more that someday she learns what Margaret knew all along. That the measure of a person isn't found in their bank account, or their job title, or their family's reputation. It's found in how they treat the person who fixes their garbage disposal,